Hello, everybody. I am Dr. Hans Diehl, and I'm delighted being with you to contribute to the success of the first National Congress of the Romanian Society of Lifestyle Medicine. This is a new beginning of bringing this message of how to deal with chronic diseases to medical profession and to the society at large to help them to understand that we have a major part to play in taking care of this epidemic that is surrounding us with these chronic diseases. I'm delighted to working with Dr. Emanuela Mercore Hutanu, who has been working very hard to make this program a reality. Now, when it comes to these modern killer diseases, these chronic diseases that are claiming some 80% of our deaths, epidemiologists have long known that the major determinants of our killer diseases are dietary and lifestyle factors. Here's Dr. Walter Willett from Harvard University. He's very, very clear. We need to do something about our diet and our lifestyle. Here's another voice, quotes, "There are few who realize, as they should, how much the habits of diet have to do with their health, their character, and their usefulness in this world. The appetite should ever be in subjection to the moral and intellectual powers. The body should be the servant to the mind, and not the mind to the body." But isn't appetite today claiming the priority in the decisions and choices we make when it comes to foods? When it comes to these chronic diseases, we are recognizing more and more that they cannot be cured with pills and procedures. Today's modern killer diseases, common chronic diseases like heart disease and diabetes, obesity and hypertension, cannot be cured with pills and procedures and high-tech medical approaches. Even so, chronic diseases can be cured. Well, how could this be? If not through medical care? Well, here's the approach that lifestyle medicine has pioneered. With an enlightened, intelligent lifestyle and self-care that will activate the body's innate ability to begin to heal itself, we can cure these chronic diseases. This prominently involves a simple, more traditional diet of foods as grown. Here's Dr. Susan Blum. She wrote in her book, "Afflicted by chronic diseases? Changing the food you eat is the single most powerful lifestyle change you can make to restore your health." So my topic today is disease reversal. Live with all of your heart. And what I want to do, I want to share with you some case studies from the CHIP program, the Complete Health Improvement Program, a proven intensive lifestyle change program. You know, it's very, very interesting when you ask people about a lecture, even it's a very brilliant lecture, what do you remember? They say, well, it was very, very good. I mean, what was it that you liked? Well, I mean, in particular, oh, it was outstanding. It was very, very well done. It was outstanding. Well, give me some details. Well, it was good. You see what's happening? A few hours after the presentation of a lecture, it's gone. But ladies and gentlemen, when you tell people a story, somehow they remember, because with the story also come emotions, and emotions help us to remember. So I want to tell you a story, among others today, the Robert Anderson story, from cardiac cripple to champion. 1,500 people are waiting for me in the town of Vernon in British Columbia in Canada. We're in our 4th night of the CHIP program, which spans 18 sessions. And just as I'm moving towards the stage, a man by the name of Robert Anderson comes comes rushing up to me and he says, Dr. Diehl, remember me? I was the person with 400 others in the town of Creston. We drove, my wife and I, we drove 6-7 hours to reach you tonight because we want to tell you what happened to us. And I said, I'm very sorry, Bob, but you know, I have just a couple of minutes here before I can start the program. And he said, Dr. Diehl, I want to share what happened. I said, well, do you want to talk to all these people? Do you want to talk to these 1,500 people? I can do it. And so I welcomed the people and then I announced a very special guest, Robert Anderson from the town of Creston in British Columbia, who drove 7 hours to come and tell you what happened to him. And then I make my first mistake. I give him the microphone. I mean, you should never do this unless you know what they're going to say. He takes the mic and he says, ladies and gentlemen, it is true. We drove more than 6 hours to come from Creston to see you here, to tell you, don't believe everything that this man is telling you. This man cost us $30,000. I was stunned. I had established myself in 3 nights in terms of being a credible speaker. And here in the 4th night, this man pulls a rug from underneath me. I stand there naked. My credibility is gone. 1 sentence and it's over. Now, I first thought I didn't hear right, but let me tell you a little bit more. Actually, when it comes to behavioral change, I have learned that it's very important not to take everything away from people, but to develop an understanding, to build concepts. And so usually in our first 2 or 3 lectures, I talk about the test results of our screening program. I talk about what is atherosclerotic disease, what are chronic diseases, why do they stay forever, what can we do, and then usually I begin to talk about risk factors that drive this underlying disease entity, chronic diseases, because they're largely circulation related. And then I begin to, on my 4th night, I talk to them about the relationship of diet to disease. And so I'm a gradualist. I am very slow moving. I'm very sensitive because I know that change has to come from within. You cannot dictate to people, no more M&Ms, no more chocolates, no more potato chips, no more meat. You just can't do this. People have to discover this for themselves, and the change has to come from within. And so as I am listening to him, I expected him to maybe talk for 3, 4, 5 minutes, but here he tells this whole story. But here's Bob. He has the mic and he tells a story. He said, I used to have a shadow follow me wherever I would go. That shadow, it was a box, was 7 feet long and 3 feet wide. And I knew I would be in that box any day now because my angina was crippling me. I have a shortness of breath. I had chest pains on a regular basis. I couldn't even walk to my mailbox anymore, 200 feet away. I had to actually drive there. I had arthritis. I was overweight and I was depressed. So Teresa and I, we were driving home after our 4th night of our CHIP program in Creston 6 months ago. And she is telling me, you know, Bob, I am actually sick and tired of being sick and tired. Bob, you're in the hospital on a regular basis. Your angina is not improving, your shortness of breath. Bob, I'm sick and tired of looking into the future and seeing myself as a widow. We need to make some changes. We need to make it now. When we get home tonight, we're going to make some changes. Bob, it's time. So when we drove home, first thing I noticed, she would go to the fireplace and she said, Bob, what about those Marlboro cigarettes, those cartons that you love? Come on, here's the match. Let's take care of it. And I put the match to these wonderful Marlboro cigarettes. I love those, but I knew it was time to make a break. And then she said, let's go down to the basement, 2 large freezers. And he said, Bob, we're going to clean those out now. And I was shocked. He said, Teresa, the doctor never said anything about diet. Well, he said, if it has a mother, don't eat it too often. Wow. Yeah, but he didn't say anything. Bob, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I don't want to be a widow. Let's clean out these 2 freezers. And the sirloin steak disappeared. The chicken disappeared. The pork chops disappeared. The sausages disappeared. The cheese disappeared. I mean, when both of these freezers were emptied, there were just some raspberries and some spinach and some other things left over there. She took me to the kitchen and she said, Bob, we're going to clean out the kitchen now. And so she went to the refrigerator and she took out the, my favorite Haagen-Dazs ice cream. No, Bob, I don't want to face the future as a widow. We're going to clean it out tonight. Ice cream is just fat and sugar. Come on. And then she took me to the pantry. And there I saw my favorite M&Ms. I saw my favorite potato chips. I thought to myself, no mother, I'm safe. These are not animal products. And she said, Bob, they're refined foods. And remember, he said something about if the food is refined, don't eat it too often. And once we had taken care of all of those shelves, now she took me to the wet bar. And there, I loved that red wine. And I knew that red wine was good for the heart, right? I loved my whiskey. After a day's work, I would relax. And then I looked at my favorite drinks and I said, look, this is all made from grains. Whiskey is made from grains. Grains are on the program. Come on, these are highly refined foods. These are empty calories. They have very little nutritional value. Come on. So we poured it down the drain. Oh man, it was an incredible day. We finished at 2 o'clock in the morning. And then I turned to Teresa and said, Teresa, what are we going to have for breakfast tomorrow? And here's my first question to you. If you were going to go to your kitchen and look around and see what foods do you have that are really coming directly from nature, such as vegetables and fruits and whole grain products and lots of beans and lentils. If you were looking for these kind of foods as they come in nature, traditional foods, how many would you really have in your kitchen? Or is it also filled, like Bob's and Teresa's kitchen, with processed foods, taste sensations, difficult to resist, addictive foods made for profit, not for health? You know, actually, I thought that he would take maybe 3 or 4 minutes to tell his story, his results, but instead, I mean, he loved the stage, 66 years of age, a builder, but he is apparently comfortable on stage to tell his story. And so he tells the people, you know, we did very, very well. We made all these changes on the 4th night of the program, while most of the other people, they kind of gradually moved into position that Dr. Diehl outlined gradually. We had it done all on the 4th night. And so because of that, we had the biggest weight loss. We had the best improvement in bringing the cholesterol down. My angina began to drop off, and we were getting into a walking program step by step by step. But I was getting bored with the walking program. And so we went to a bike shop and I bought a 21-gear titanium bike. It was fabulous. On the way home, my wife turns to me and she says, Bob, you just spent $2,000. How about me? Wow, you want a bike too? No, no, no. I just would like to have a piano, a used piano, and that would probably cost about $1,500. And I would like to set aside $500 for my piano lessons, and that's what I want to do. Well, they also bought. And so, I began to realize that he said they spent $30,000 because of me. So they spent $2,000 on the bike, $2,000 on the piano. That's $4,000. And then they said, and then we bought a car because we felt so good. We bought a car, $26,000, $30,000. This man there pointing at me cost us a lot of money. And then he said, and you know something else? We're now getting ready for me to do a major bicycle ride, the ride of my life, from Creston on the west coast of Canada to the east coast of Canada to the capital city of Ottawa. I'm going to ride that bike 4,000 kilometers. I'm going to get the clearance from my physician, from my cardiologist. And when that happens, I'm on my way. Next year, I'm going to be ready. I mean, I was shocked. You see, he was totally destroying my gradualist approach. He gave these people a very strong message. No more M&Ms, no more meat, no more salary, no more salamis, no more cheese, all the things that make life worthwhile. No more red wine. I mean, this man destroyed my program and I couldn't get that mic away from him. After finally concluding his remarks, after 55 minutes, I knew that I had no more time for my lecture for that day. That was the important lecture, the fourth lecture of the program, when I talk about the relationship between diet and disease. When I really help people to understand, you've got to make some changes in how you eat, how you use fork and knife. And this man had taken all of my time. There was no more time for me to do anything. All I could say is, thank you, Bob. You have really inspired us. Yeah, not me. I was worried. I was petrified. I already was thinking, nobody's going to come back. This was Thursday night. No one is going to come back on Monday. The program is over. I have made a major mistake. I gave him the mic without telling him, you got 5 minutes and just say the right things. And I began to think about, I'm going to call Lily tonight, my wife, and I'm going to tell her I made one mistake, a bad mistake. On my second CHIP program in Canada, and I'm probably coming home. I'm looking for some tickets to coming home. Well, Monday night came, 6:30, I'm in my car. I'm driving to the lecture hall and the parking lot is full. It's crowded, it's packed. And I figured, oh, they must have just canceled the CHIP program and replaced it with a wine and cheese party or something like this. And so I opened the door very carefully to see how many people are in that big hall there. And the place is filled. But I see some of my chippers there. And I turn to a chipper and I say, what are you doing here? Well, sir, this is our program number 5, isn't it? This is night number 5 of our program. And so I ran to my car, I got my computer, and I keyed in program number 4 and program number 5. I would combine these 2 lectures tonight because the chippers were there. And as I look at my watch, it's 2 minutes to 7, 2 minutes to go. I dash to the front, to the platform, and I say, welcome to our CHIP program. We're combining now the lecture of number 4 and number 5. And the people look at me and they say, where is Bob? I mean, they didn't want me. They brought their friends and their neighbors to hear Bob. They wanted to hear his clear, simple, direct message. They didn't want this educated, gradualist approach. Just tell us what we need to do, we'll do it. It became one of our most successful programs because Bob had really inspired these people with his direct approach. What happened to Bob after the local program was over? He went back to Creston, to his hometown, and he trained for his bicycle ride across Canada. He covered over 4,000 kilometers in 60 days. And when he arrived in Ottawa, the television crews had followed him all 60 days to capture the enthusiasm of this 68-year-old man who 2 years earlier had to use his car to drive to his mailbox to pick up his mail. And now he's traveling on his bike 4,000 kilometers. he became the champion from a cardiac cripple to a champion. And I said to him, Bob, did you really get clearance from your cardiologist? He said, Dr. Diehl, you told me that you can reverse coronary artery disease. And I told my cardiologist this. And he looked at my results after 4 weeks, after 6 weeks, after 8 weeks. And he noticed that the cholesterol had dropped. I had lost weight. My angina pain had totally diminished. And he said, well, I don't really fully understand this, but I give you clearance to do it. And so when they asked Bob later on, tell us what are the 4 principles of the CHIP program that enabled you to travel 4,000 kilometers on a bike across Canada and enjoy it? And he said, number 1, it's the food. Number 1, eat simple food, food as grown as it come in nature, simply prepared. Number 2, burn holes into the soles of your shoes and not the tires of your car. Exercise every day. And number 3, he said, also, avoid harmful substances like alcohol and too much caffeine and cigarettes. And number 4, he said, have an attitude of gratitude. You were made to success. But beyond this, over the years, Bob also became a softer man because the inner man was changing too. Some 20 years later, Bob is moving towards the final phase of his life. He has worked, he has built a home for his physician in the meantime. He has become a new man, a complete man again. And then he turns to his wife and he says, you know, dear Teresa, because of the CHIP program, because of the changes we made in our lifestyle, I have had 20 extra years, and 18 of these 20 years were really good years. I'm so glad that our physician referred us to the CHIP program, and my cardiologist agreed in letting me do this special ride to Canada to inspire thousands, millions of people that followed me on television. You know, there's no greater joy for me as a care provider with over 100,000 CHIP graduates who have perhaps not had the same experience. Maybe they didn't ride 4,000 kilometers on a bike. Maybe they didn't run marathons, but they were able to find freedom from the medications that usually made them feel more comfortable, but did not really cure them. And we have published over 50 scientific papers that clearly document the clinical results of what happens when people make serious lifestyle changes. They move towards a simple traditional diet, foods as grown. Couple this with a daily exercise program. Be careful with alcohol and tobacco, and also become a nicer person. There's no greater joy for a care provider than to see happy patients becoming healthy again. The story of Robert Anderson, from cardiac cripple to Canadian champion. Of course, you probably want to see some pictures of Bob. Here's Bob, the senior cycler. Bob Anderson hits the road at age 68, national publication in Canada. Here he is, the senior cycler. Again, the story is all written up. And here you see this happy couple who had another 20 years because they made some serious lifestyle changes, intelligent lifestyle changes. But you know, not all stories are as smooth and as easy as the story of Robert Anderson. Here's the story of Boyd Brenner. He was an unlikely turnaround. Could we really help this man? I mean, as I looked over the crowd in Kalamazoo, Michigan, 300 people there, the CHIP program again, 19 sessions. I saw him sitting there just like this. And you know what that means? That's body language that says, I really don't want to be here. And so I approached him and I said, well, it's nice to meet you, sir. What brings you here? He said, my wife. Oh, your wife. Why is she here? Oh, she wants to lose some weight. I don't think she has to. She looks okay to me, but you know how women are. Oh, I see. And just then a lady approached us and I moved towards this lady. And then I kind of talked to her quietly and I said, is this your husband? Yes, it is. And what brings you here? And she said, my husband, he's 57 years of age, had to retire because of health problems. He has heart disease. He had 9 heart attacks, 2 bypass surgeries, and again, incessant anginal pain, chest pain, because 3 of his major coronary arteries are closed again. I didn't know what to do. He has been a diabetic for 5 years. He's 65 pounds overweight. His cholesterol is very, very high. He already had his gallbladder taken out. He had high blood pressure for the last 13 years on 2 or 3 different medications for that. He has gouty arthritis, lots of pain there on medication, and his triglycerides are in the thousands. And after 9 heart attacks, he still smokes his pipe. What can I do? And so she said, as a last resort, we thought maybe we go and see you, come to your program. We have been to the Mayo Clinic. They have given him the best medications. Here you see some of the medications for his angina, for his hypertension, for his high triglyceride levels. He is on a blood thinner and he's taking 67 units of insulin for his diabetes. This man is a sick puppy. And she said, sir, he's not able to lie down at night anymore. He has breathing problems, sleep apnea. He's not in his own room. We put his bed at a slant, then we tried to help him sleep in a recliner. No relief from the angina pain. It's there all the time, and he's walking the floor till daybreak, from evening to morning, day in, day out. We don't know what to do. And he can't even get to his mailbox, which is about 50 feet. That's about 20 meters away without having 2 or 3 anginal attacks. Chest pain. Sir, we don't know what to do. And she said, I hope you can motivate him to make some changes. I'm all behind it. I will do everything for him. I love this man. And so I saw the disconnect between husband and wife when it comes to lifestyle changes. And so when I saw him the next day, he was easy to find in the crowd, just like this again. Now I knew his name and I said, Mr. Brenner, how are you doing? He said, why are you seeing me again? At break time, you always seem to come and look at me. Why do you pick on me? What's wrong that you're always trying to do some, I don't understand. What are you trying to do? Are you trying to change my lifestyle? Are you trying to change me? You cannot change me. I am a German. I say, I understand. I understand. He didn't know that I was German too. And he said, I cannot change. That's just the way it is. And I love my life the way it is. I just have made peace with myself. And I'm just here to help my wife. There was not much more I could do. And so I talked to a psychologist, I talked to my daughter. I said, Carmen, tell me, what can I do with this man? He is not interested in adapting to some of the suggestions. He's not open to the educational concepts. He doesn't see a need for making some changes. What can I do? And she said to me, Dad, don't push him. Just be nice to him. Just ask him some detailed questions about his life. Make him comfortable. Ask him what his dreams are. What are his goals? And let him think about his goals. And maybe he begins to realize that if he made some changes, maybe he might have better health so he can fill his goals. Well, I thought that was good counsel for my daughter. And then I saw him 2 days later. And I said to him, Mr. Brenner, how are things going? He said, well, I've been thinking about, you're always picking on me. I want you to know what's going on. And that is, I am a man of the Mayo Clinic. You know, the Mayo Clinic, that's probably the best clinic in America. And the Mayo Clinic told me nothing more can be clinically done for you. They told me, you are on the best of medications. It's your genetics. You didn't pick your father and mother very wisely. It's genetics. You got to learn to live with it. There's nothing we can do. And I said to him, I understand you have also a special passion for hunting. Oh, yes, I'm a hunter. I'm hunting exotic animals up in Canada. I like bear and caribou and seal and deer. These are my favorite foods. And, you know, actually, he said, you seem to be a pretty nice guy. You know, when this program is over for my wife here, I'd like you to come to my house. And then I want to take you down to the basement. I have 5 freezers there with exotic meats like bear meat and caribou and deer and seal. It's all there. And I want to show you what a real man eats. I had been told by his wife that he could easily finish a 2-pound roast in one sitting. I knew I had my work cut out to work with him. You see, the Mayo Clinic was not aware of the emerging science of epigenetics, where your lifestyle can override the genes to express themselves. And so with the best knowledge we had at the time, they were working on the assumption that obviously you inherit genes from your parents. And on the left-hand side, you see there, some of these are healthy genes, and that makes you healthy. On the right-hand side, you can also have disease genes. Now, the disease genes usually clean themselves up. They don't express themselves. They repair themselves in most cases. But if they don't, then they become the influencers of disease. What this gentleman, what Mr. Boyd Brenner didn't know, that DNA does not have to be your destiny, because you can change the expression of your genes. There are off and on buttons on these genes that are determined by your lifestyle. Please take a look here. Comprehensive lifestyle changes cause beneficial changes in the expressions of many genes in just months. Downregulated genes include those promoting inflammation, oxidative stress, all associated with atherosclerotic circulation-related diseases, and oncogenes. These are genes that code for cancer of the breast, prostate, and the colon. But we can override them based on our lifestyle. And here you see it again. You see the same genome, you see the same newborn genome, and then you go to the right-hand side, you see the disease genes. Yeah, they're there. But they don't have to code for disease, because through nutritional interception, you can actually interrupt the expression of these genes for disease. And so we now have a better understanding. We now know that you can, as has been done in some studies, you can actually change genes that are coding for cancer. You can change them within months. You can also enhance genes that usually express themselves to promote health. You can make them stronger. So this is the new science of epigenetics. And Mr. Brenner didn't know this. And so when I saw him the next time, when he saw me coming, he was already upset, because he knew I was going to have something again to tell him, right? And so he was angry. But I followed my daughter's counsel. So I asked him, I said, Mr. Brenner, I'm just sort of wondering, what are some of your goals that you have? I mean, you're a big hunter. Are there some other things that you enjoy doing? He said, oh yeah, I'm a fisherman. I am going to be going to Costa Rica. I said, you're going to go to Costa Rica, to Central America? Oh yes, I'm going to catch them big ones there. I said, really? When are you going to go? In 6 months. And I looked him into the eyes and I said, Mr. Brenner, you are not going to Costa Rica in 6 months. You are a sick man. I mean, just having a little bait on his hook and a fish nibbling on it, that would get him so excited that he would have an angina attack. I said, Mr. Brenner, it's not going to happen. And he looked at me and he said, you want to bet? mark my word, I'm going to be in Costa Rica in 6 months. I'm going to send you the pictures. I'm going to catch them big ones. Now, in the meantime, Mr. Brenner learned that the underlying disease process for heart disease and angina is atherosclerosis, that we're born with clean arteries. And then depending on our lifestyle, especially on our diet, the arteries begin to narrow down 20, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90% with age. And he began to also learn that these atherosclerotic plaques, the buildup of calcium and cholesterol and dead cells and so on, and saturated fat, actually narrows the arteries anywhere in the body. So you can have then many diseases on many different sites with many different names, and you have many different specialists treating the different organs. But ladies and gentlemen, you only have one underlying pathology. This is a systemic disease, atherosclerotic plaques that find their way into all the major circulatory vessels. And when that happens, you have different chronic diseases emerging in these areas, such as myocardial infarction, angina pectoris affecting the coronary arteries. The cerebral arteries, now you have to worry about stroke and senility, hearing loss and visual loss. Then you have to be concerned about hypertension, the kidney arteries, gangrene, the arteries to the feet. And then you have to worry about impotence as it relates to the penile arteries. They're fairly small, and the narrowing process can really constrict the consistent blood flow. And of course, when that happens, things go south, right? And then also we can talk about degenerative disc disease. And of course, the factors that underlie, that drive, that influence this disease process called atherosclerosis, the narrowing process, has to do, as we discussed in our previous lecture, with cholesterol, blood pressure, and smoking. These are the three big factors. But then you have diabetes, and you have obesity and triglycerides. And please note, these are all under the control of our lips. And if you add smoking to it, again, lips, right? So our lips get us into a lot of trouble. And then you have inactivity, you don't use your feet, you don't walk regularly, and stress, you don't take care of your stress in an appropriate manner. And then sometimes you have some genetics that can be, however, overridden by epigenetic factors. And so we talked also in these lecture series about that these plaques can reverse themselves, they can melt down, it can be a regression. And we talked about experimental regressions that involved monkeys. And all you have to do is, if you would give monkeys a typical human diet, the typical rich human diet, they would develop heart disease in 19 months. And then if you put them on a very simple diet, simple foods, very low fat, natural whole foods, these plaques would begin to melt. And in 2 years, the arteries would be open again very, very nicely. And then people said, well, that's monkeys. Yeah, what about humans? Well, here's Dr. Ornish. Dr. Ornish has shown that lifestyle medicine concepts can reverse heart disease. They can open up the coronary arteries. He has scientifically proven that people can open their blocked arteries without drugs or surgery. He guides them through a rigorous lifestyle program. 1990, published in the British Lancet Medical Journal. Here you see he had 48 heart disease patients. 28 of them he put on a very simple vegetarian, simple food diet, very low in fat. And you can see here the plaques regressed. They began to melt down in 82% of the cases, while in the control group, where they gave them the typical American Heart Association diet, which gives you still a lot more fat and cholesterol and so on. Here you see the plaque progression. The plaques actually progressed. The arteries became even narrower than they were before in 53% of the cases. So if you really want to reverse the disease, you have to be very serious. And when you do this, you will see here again, the cholesterol will drop by about 20, 30%, just with diet alone. If you have the right diet. On the control group, only had a minimal change in cholesterol. And here you have Dr. Cardwell Esselstyn, a famous surgeon at the Cleveland Clinic, who made some changes in his own career and began to get into a research project where he used the walking dead heart disease patients who had had all the surgeries and nothing could be done more for them. And he put them on a very simple, plant-based, very low-fat diet, foods as grown. And he demonstrated that within years, like 2.5 years, the left side shows a narrowed coronary artery. There's very little blood flow there. On the right-hand side, you see the same artery from the same patient, now totally restored without medication, just by making some dietary changes. We can talk about reversing diabetes. The same thing, a very low-fat diet, vegetarian diet, plant-based. 1955, Inder Singh took 80 diabetic patients on insulin, and he put them on a very simple, very low-fat, natural whole food diet. And within 6 weeks, 50 out of these 80 diabetic patients on insulin were off the insulin, and their diabetic was gone. As they followed the program, their diabetes would not come back. After 18 weeks, all of the patients, about 85%, were no longer diabetics. The power of lifestyle change. And here's Professor Anderson. He said some 50 to 75% of type 2 diabetics on insulin and 80 to 90% on those on pills could normalize their blood sugars and be off medication within weeks if they changed their diet. And of course, we have the same results pretty much in our CHIP program, where we can demonstrate that diabetes is affected very rapidly within days. Blood pressure numbers come down. 67% of the patients are no longer in need of medication within 4 to 8 to 10 weeks. And so here's then what we recommend. Please take a look. This is the eating continuum that we need to make a choice about. On the left-hand side, you see this is a typical Western diet. This is the American diet that is being copied all over the world because it's so tasty and it's so profitable for the industry. They promote meats, dairy, eggs, processed foods, alcohol, and caffeine. On the other hand, if you go to the right-hand side, to the upper green triangle, then you see here is what you find that would give you the best health outcomes that will help you not only to prevent, but also reverse these chronic diseases. This now focuses on fruits and vegetables, whole grains, legumes, lots of beans, and some nuts and seeds, and lots of water. If you're on the left-hand side, the red on top there, you see, this is usually giving you, in most cases, the worst health outcomes. This is where you have heart disease, you have diabetes, you have arthritis, you have the common chronic diseases that modern medicine cannot cure, but only treat the symptoms. On the right-hand side, you have the best outcomes. You can prevent and reverse most of these diseases. And then here's Mr. Brenner. I come back 3 months later to Kalamazoo, the city in Michigan, and we have now a follow-up meeting of our alumni. Please note, before I give you the results, I received a phone call from Mrs. Brenner, and she said, Dr. Diehl, I know you're in town. I know you're having a special alumni meeting. Is there a chance that you could feature my husband to give us report? Mr. Boyd Brenner, I was not too keen on that because I had a bad experience with him. He would not make the changes. He would not make the turnaround. What would he say? And then she said, Dr. Diehl, you are an educator, aren't you? I'm an educator too. We're both educators. Why don't you give him a chance? It would be the best medicine that you can give him. Let him tell his story. It's a great story. And I let my heart make the decision rather than my head. And then I began to worry. Did I really make the right decision? And so when he came up, I said, ladies and gentlemen, we have a gentleman here from our last CHIP program, Mr. Brenner. He wants to give you a short report of what happened to him. He takes the mic and he said, ladies and gentlemen, the 4 most important letters in the alphabet can be found in the 4 last letters of the word American. American, I-C-A-N, I can. Wow. And he said, I'm German. I'm a hunter. I had 9 heart attacks. If I can do it, anybody can do it. Look at my weight. My weight came down from 221 pounds down to 213 pounds. And then it's now 208 pounds. I have lost 2 and 11, 13 pounds. And I've never eaten so much food in just 30 days, 90 days. And then he said, look at my blood sugar levels. They went from 205 down to 131. I'm almost normal now. I have almost a normal blood sugar, and my insulin is gone. I used to have 67 units of insulin, shooting up every day, no more. And look at my cholesterol from 288 down to 128. Unbelievable. No medication, just the diet. And look at my triglycerides in the 2000s. Now they're down to 445. I know they should be down to about 150, but that will come. That will happen. And look at my blood pressure. 122/78, 122/80, 118/64. They're all normal blood sugars, but please note, the first values are under the control of 3 blood pressure medications. I'm off all medications now for blood pressure, and they're totally normal. I have the teenager's blood pressure. And then look at my pulse, has gone from 78 times a minute to 66 beats a minute to 56. I'm becoming much more physically fit. And then he said, you know, my angina markedly decreased very quickly, very rapidly. I was able to level off my bed and remove my recliner from my bedroom. I didn't need it anymore. And our bedroom now no longer looks like a sick person's room. He said, it has been a marvelous experience. He said, and something else happened. My neighbor has a beautiful German Shepherd dog. And I fell in love with this German Shepherd dog. And over the last 3 months, my 5 freezers with exotic meats are now empty. Of course, the dog has died of a heart attack since then. No, not really. But you see what he did? He made a total change, totally unexpected. And then I asked him, Mr. Brenner, what about that trip to Costa Rica in 6 months? I'm going to get there. You just wait. And then I said, tell me, what caused you to become so motivated? You stopped smoking, you changed your diet, you're moving every day, your angina has decreased dramatically. What was it that caused you to make the change? I wanted to prove you wrong. I knew I couldn't believe you. You're from Loma Linda. Look, I'm from the Mayo Clinic. That's where the big boys are. What's Loma Linda? And so I was going to embarrass you. I was going to do it exactly like you said. I would go 150%. You said something 100%. I did 150%. You said walk every day 50 minutes. I would work 30 minutes a day. I did everything more than what you said because I wanted to prove you wrong, but I lost. But actually I said, no, you won. You won the struggle with yourself. And then 6 months later, actually it was 3 months from the alumni meeting, this is the picture he sent me. Take a look at it. You see this? Unbelievable. I mean, he got these big ones. And when I ask people that know something about fish, they say, yeah, these are probably 60, 70, 80-pound fishes. I don't know how he was able to do it because with angina pain, you cannot have those exertions without having significant angina attacks. But he did it because he had begun to reverse his heart disease. His diabetes was basically gone. His blood pressures had come to normal. He was a new man, and he was a man that also became softer on the inside. And he said, I'm so glad that I came to the CHIP program to help my wife. Actually, he turned my life around. Here's another short story, a film for you. Take a look. From dying to living, an unexpected turnaround. I was more or less, I could hardly work. I could hardly do anything. I was such bad shape. So I had to do something, and this was my last resort. It was really like the last resort. Doctors couldn't do anything more. I did some stem cell research and did some of that. That didn't help. So it was like it was a last resort. And what I say, thank God, CHIP.
That's, I'm here today and I feel good, and everyone sees me and they say, boy, you look like $1 million now. You're just way better. So they pulled me out and they said, well, call your family in. So I called my son and some people in with me, and they go, you've got some major problems. And I go, what do you mean? And he says, well, you got 5 arteries plugged, 5 major ones plugged, starting at 100%, 99, 98, 96, 95, somewhere in there. Major.
You went then under the knife, right?
Yes, and had open heart surgery where they
5
cut you open.
bypasses?
5 of them, yes. And a month later, I felt really, really tough. So I went in again.
Because now, when they go back to check, what did they find?
They found all 5 of them are plugged.
I mean, the grafted vessels?
Yeah, the grafted vessels, yeah. They scarred up is what they call it.
Yeah,
they're not plugged, but they're scarred, and they're scarred up so much that they can't put a stent in there.
See, he had exhausted every possible medical intervention. He was now at a dead end, right? And then I guess, is that when Chip came in?
Yes, that's when Chip came in. If I had nothing else I could do, the doctors couldn't do anything for me. They said, you are like a lazy 80-year-old man. That's your health. And I said, no, I'm not. I won't stand for this. Something's got to be done. I said, well, I'll try it. And I did, and thank God it worked like a charm. It was great.
Maybe at this point in time, it would be a good opportunity for us to see how Tom is living. Because when he came into the program, it was a huge challenge. I felt a pretty big bunch of pressure on me because I didn't know if he was actually going to make it through the program or not. We were staring at our most challenging case yet. But we have a photo of Tom that I'd like us to look at now. And this is him after a year after taking the chip class. He's out there, he's digging his garden, not using a rototiller, he's using a spade.
Wow.
That is not a lazy 80-year-old man out there.
And you probably can tell from looking at my picture that I was much younger then. This was 14 years ago, and he is doing very, very well because he made the lifestyle changes and he maintained the lifestyle changes. So here's a thought question. What brought about the lifestyle changes? What motivated people to make the changes? Here's 6 spaces that you can fill in, but because we have a lack of time, let me just give you some suggested answers here. Number 1, sometimes a person has to first experience a medical crisis to uncover that he has a need for help. Number 2, sometimes he refuses help. Why? Why did Mr. Brenner refuse any help? Well, I'm here because of my wife. Well, why did he refuse? Because number 3, there were obstacles in his life and his understanding. There was a belief. He was told at the Mayo Clinic, there's nothing we can do. You picked the wrong parents. It's a genetic problem. Therefore, enjoy your life because it won't last that long. Then you have number 4. What made the difference? Education and group support. This was the dawning of the light. You see, a light came into his mind. Maybe there's something that can be done. And then number 5, he had this drive. He wanted to challenge this authority figure. He doesn't want to be told anything by someone else because I am a Mayo man. I know what's best. Don't come close to me. I know what I need to do. The challenge was there. And so then he wanted to embarrass me, and now he would do everything even more so than I had recommended. And then ultimately he embraces the lifestyle, he accepts it. And then there is the clinical validation. The cholesterol moves down, the insulin is gone. He's no longer a man that is living off pills and procedures, but he's a man that has become a whole man again, a new man, a man that is moving out of his recliner where he sleeps back into the marital bedroom. Yeah, a wonderful experience, isn't it? Yeah. And now the more recent news from the world of Chip.
The two largest employees in Lee County, the school board and the Lee Memorial Health System, say they found a way to save you, the taxpayer, money. And they're doing it one fork at a time. They say they found a lifestyle program that is taking a bite out of the high cost of health care and at the same time making you feel better. And to quote executives, the results are simply amazing.
And a lot of people are noticing that I just look and feel better, so that's all positive.
Brian Ebbers, a department director for the Lee County school system, lives with MS. Until a few weeks ago, he couldn't walk without a cane, but he doesn't need it anymore.
I feel better, and so I've decided that I'm going to leave that behind for a while and see how it goes.
That's because Brian is a student of CHIP, the Complete Health Improvement Program. It's where people are taught to eat meals that are plant-based, and Brian says it's a program that works.
The only reason I do this is because it gives me an opportunity to give people hope. People don't have hope anymore. They've tried and failed.
Kathy Raynard is a CHIP instructor. She explains why the more emphasis you put on vegetables, beans, and grains, and the less on meat and dairy, the better you'll feel. You can reverse chronic diseases like hypertension, cardiovascular disease, and diabetes.
You can choose to eat what you want, but the education kind of helps people see that what they've been doing potentially is the reason for their chronic disease, and they have the ability to change that.
So people like Brian aren't just walking and feeling better, they're spending less money on health care. Human Resource Director Angela Pruitt says that's saving the school system a lot of money.
4% of our employees result in 47% of our health care costs.
So along with the school district, Lee Memorial Health System put the CHIP program to the test. What they discovered was a remarkable turnaround with the health of their employees. After 12 months, for every dollar LMHS spent on helping employees live a plant-strong diet, they saved $2 in healthcare costs, with some added benefits.
One of the things that they've told us is that their energy level had increased dramatically. So we know that from that perspective, they take less time off from work. They are more productive on the job.
The two largest employers in Lee County say you can't argue with success like Brian, and they want to give all their employees the opportunity to be healthy by choice, not by chance.
We have the ability to help you reverse your chronic disease if you follow the principles we teach.
All right, now administrators say the CHIP graduates look so great and have lost so much weight, there's now a waiting list to get on the program. If you're interested in learning more about CHIP, just go to fox4now.com and click on this story.
Is the so-called good life killing you? Could the fast food and inactivity of your typical day be the key reason for your poor health today? 70% of all deaths are now attributed to lifestyle choices. And thanks to obesity-related health issues, this will be the first generation to live shorter lives than their parents. We all know the solution: move more and eat better. But we also know the power of bad habits. How do you change an entire lifetime of unhealthy choices? You can't do it alone, but there is help.
Well, I was about 50, a little over 50, and I had been obese for about 30 years and weighed about 80 pounds over my wedding day weight. I just, felt tired all the time, didn't have a lot of motivation for doing much of anything. I knew I needed to lose the weight, and I needed a program that I could do easily and for the rest of my life. When I found out about CHIP, I began to apply the principles that were taught. I began to lose weight. The weight just melted off, and within a short time, I was feeling a whole lot better. I was able to fit back into my wedding dress for my 35th wedding anniversary, something I had always dreamed of and didn't think I'd ever be able to do again. And as I was walking one day, I had so much energy that I just felt like bursting into a run, which I hadn't done for many years. On top of that, I was able to play with my grandson in the park, and I wasn't getting sick anymore like I used to. CHIP just gave me my life back, and it's a lifestyle that I can do for the rest of my life.
Did you know that lifestyle diseases aren't just preventable, but also largely reversible? The Complete Health Improvement Program, CHIP for short, is the preeminent community lifestyle intervention education program where participants start to see a dramatic difference in their biometrics after 30 days into their 3-month-long program. Clogged arteries begin to open up, blood pressures come down, diabetes turns around, people eat more but they lose weight, and high cholesterol levels drop often more than 20%. CHIP is all about choices. Safe, simple, deliberate lifestyle choices. CHIP gives you the education, motivation, and support structure needed to make smarter choices. Over 50,000 CHIP graduates are living proof that CHIP works.
In fact, to date, CHIP has over 20 published papers in peer-reviewed academic journals in the medical and scientific literature. And we believe that that makes it one of the most well-published community-based lifestyle interventions in the world. In fact, just recently, the American College of Lifestyle Medicine presented these results and discussed this paper on their website. And this is what they said. This study demonstrates clinical results of a large, we're talking 5,070, free-living cohort in North America, yielding some of the most impressive recorded clinical changes ever in the literature.
CHIP can help you get the healthy life you've dreamed of, kick the old habits of the so-called good life, and help you step confidently into the best life.
An osteopathic physician is trying to change our community's health and wean them off prescription drugs. Well, I talked with this physician and found out how. Charles Ross has spent years treating patients with various diseases, and he went on a mission about 3 years ago to reverse those ailments. The success of his program, he says, is a plant-based diet.
I was going to have cataract surgery in this eye, as I was told by 2 different doctors. Now I can see out of it just darn near normally.
Before going on this food plan, Bryant said he had a heart attack and bypass surgery. He says he's now off prescription medication.
It's treating not only what you eat, how you exercise, how you manage stress, but also how you connect with the community.
We know that diet matters tremendously to human health. Diets that increase the amount of vegetable, Mediterranean diet, for instance, show improvements in health across the board.
Ross says he teaches the National Complete Health Improvement Program because he wants to help people in Douglas County. Reporting in Roseburg, I'm Kristen Goodwillie.
Hi, mabuhay! I'm Dr. Linda Lim Barona, and I am a facilitator for the CHIP here at Philippine Publishing House. We have our regular sessions 3 days a week, and then we have our physical fitness, we have cooking demos, and after this CHIP program, we have shared the CHIP principle to our community. We have been having our Sunday fitness program, and the people from the community comes to give them health tips, not only about health, but about cooking and lifestyle changes. There are around 600 people from the community that are participating, from the young to the old, ladies and gentlemen, and they are enjoying this exercise. The one leading our physical fitness is Alan, who had a heart attack 5 years ago, and he participated in CHIP. And now he is he's leading the exercises because he used to be a diabetic. He had a stent, but now everything, he has no more medicine.
Hi, mabuhay. I'm Alan. 6 years ago, I was a diabetic patient. I had a heart attack. I was suffering from hemolytic anemia. I had 4 months of consecutive blood transfusion, 4 bags every month. And I heard about CHIP. So I joined CHIP. I was taking 172 units of insulin a day, and after the 1-month program of CHIP, it went down to 25 units after a month. Then after 3 or 4 months, it's 0. Then now after 6 years, of practicing the CHIP principles that I have learned from them. I'm now leading 6 days a week physical fitness program just to share what I have learned from CHIP. Every Sunday morning during our physical fitness program, we have now 600 people participating and attending to us regularly. Energetic and healthy people joining us every day, from children up to adults. Especially men, coming from my heart, I owe it from CHIP. I love CHIP, I'm endorsing CHIP, and thank you very much, CHIP program.
You know, it seems that Thomas Edison, the great inventor, was certainly a prophetic person when he said, "The doctor of the future will give no medicines, but will interest his patients in the care of the human frame, in diet, and in the cause and prevention of disease." And then you have Dr. Dean Ornish here. He said, for curing chronic diseases, the new prescription is lifestyle medicine. He said, the most influential trend in medicine today, growing exponentially, is the emerging medical field of lifestyle medicine. Lifestyle as medicine, providing effective curative treatment for modern killer diseases. These people have learned that health is not a matter of chance. Health is a matter of choice. Blessings to all of you.